All right, welcome everybody. It's 3:30, so we'll get started on the meeting. I'm pitch hitting for Terry today, who is out of town, but he's joining us remotely. So I'll call the meeting to order. Are there any comments on the September meeting minutes? Yes, please.
I make a motion to approve the September meeting minutes.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain, I guess.
Abstain. We got one abstention from Mr. Byers. Thank you. All right, board member comments. Why don't we start with Mr. Kelly?
Not too much today, but thank you for meeting us out at the new park. It was a nice visit. It's good to see it in three-dimensional, get it off the paper and see what it looks like. And those upside down roofs look really good. Appreciate the tour and the time. It's well done. Thank you.
Mr. Byers?
No comments other than I'm sorry I missed that tour, so I'm gonna take my own private tour at some point, as long as that doesn't violate anything. So, but thank you.
Bonfils?
I've taken my own private tour. I'd be happy to take you on a private tour, but don't sell anybody else, okay? Maybe on a Sunday. It was a great tour. It was really good to see it coming out of the ground. It looks good. The reservoir's filling. That's all exciting. I know I mentioned this at the end of our last meeting, the One River perspective on the changing climate, which was about the Potomac. Both Pam and Mark attended. And it was great to see. And Pam had ran a panel there. I suggest, and I'll give the information so that Jewel can send it out. It was a very good session. Some of it's available online to watch, and I do recommend it. And then in I think it's January, there's a one on climate. The Worldwide Climate Association is having it, and of all places, they're having it in Baltimore. So it makes it real easy for people to attend. It's not terribly expensive. I'm involved with it because I'm involved with high performance computing and doing the models. Some really good people to talk to and learn. They have some really good ideas about climate. They just don't know what to do about it, and they found it interesting that we're actually water banking. Oh, what an idea. They're from the West. They don't quite understand that out there. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you very much for the moment.
Mr. Moody?
Yes, I'll echo my sentiments from the fellow board members about the Reservoir Park. A wonderful tour. Based on what I've seen, it'll definitely be a wonderful destination for the residents of Loudoun County once it's finished. So I really appreciate all the efforts in terms of showing us the tour as well. Thank you.
So much. Thank you. Yes, I just gonna quickly repeat that. Thank you so much for the wonderful tour. It was really nice to be able to go and see, right, what we had approved and how things are coming about, and how things are gonna turn out to be. So really grateful for that. And like always, I'm just grateful to all the staff, for all the hard work that you do. I can't appreciate it enough. So if you're here, thank you so much. And for those who are not here, thank you again.
Mr. Koblis?
I have no comments at this time.
Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just want to echo everyone's comments about the tour. Appreciate staff taking their time out of their busy day to go out there and kind of herd us around. But it looks great, and excited for the opening. And thank you once again for the tour. That's all I have.
Yeah, I enjoyed the tour as well, and nobody got stuck in the mud. Nobody slipped and fell, so it was a success. And the weather was beautiful, so it'll be exciting to see that all come together. So grateful to everybody's work on that.
Thank you. Just a couple quick things. Last week, we celebrated Customer Service Week, which is an international celebration of the importance of customer service and of the people who serve and support our customers daily. And so I just want to give a shout out to our customer service team. And it was great to take time to celebrate all of their hard work. Tomorrow, a leadership team from Ravenna Water and Sewer Authority will be here to visit and tour our aquiary. They became aware of our facility and our amazing outreach and educational opportunities that they provide to the community. And they are looking to create something similar at their new admin facility. And I think that's a testament to the hard work of our teams who make that possible. A couple statistics, ERCs through September totaled 1,978. And just a reminder that our projection for year end is 2,350. So we're at about 84% of our projection. Reminders about your upcoming meetings. The CIP committee will meet on Wednesday, October 25th at 8 a.m. And the finance committee will meet on Thursday, October 26th at 8 a.m. That's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment? All right. I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda unless someone has something they want to suggest.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda as it is.
Second, Mr. Moody. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll go slower since we got virtual folks here. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, passes. CIP committee, Marty's not able to join us today, so Mr. Bonfils is going to step in and give us an overview of the CIP committee. Mr.
Thank you.
Bonfils.
Thank you very much. There is a summary of the meeting on our, in board docs, and I suggest everyone take a chance to read it if you'd like to go over it. I'm just going to go briefly over our meeting. Our members that were in attendance were Mr. Sultan, Mr. Bonfils, Mr. Moody, and Ms. Sosakar. And Terry Allen attended, and our legal counsel, Amanda Waters, was there also. From staff, we had our general manager, Mark Peterson, Alton Eccles, Savita, I can't pronounce the last name, Schoslinger, Nate Vinoy, Brian Carnes, Jewel Lilly, Tom Lipinski, and Kendra Savum. The meeting was called to order promptly by Marty. He tried to do it earlier at 8 a.m. We followed the regular projection, and we used the proposed agenda. The action item that has been referred to the board is the amendment of a design contract for the Broad Run reclamation. That's a very big project, multi-year project, and everyone on the board asked a lot of deep questions. There was a lot of detail, a lot of great explanation into a lot of detail. We're going to talk about that again today, so I won't read everything that was written up about that meeting, and it was a very good exclamation. The board approved it, and we had a unanimous approve to send it to here to be discussed. There was some discussion about maybe not putting it on the active agenda, but there was such good information. Mr. Sakar made the motion to go ahead and put it on the action agenda. So I hope you enjoy that presentation here shortly. Capital spending monthly report was done by Tom, and we're at about 88% of our projected spending. With 3 months to go, I think we're in pretty good shape, and the projects appear to be almost universally on or near plan for completion. The meeting adjourned, and our next meeting, as mentioned, is on the 25th at 8 a.m. And that's our report. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Bonfils? Mr. Allen, would you like to comment on the selection committee?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've had 2 selection committee meetings. Both of them were closed session meetings, so there's really nothing that I can report at this point other than that both meetings were certified as closed meetings, and the subject matter discussed was within the realm of a closed meeting. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
We're having meetings.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we don't have a consent agenda, so we can move to the action agenda here, which Mr. Bonfils just referenced. Kendra, would you like to come and give us an overview?
We've got it now. All right, so I am here today to talk about the next design task for the Broad Run Phase 3 expansion. And today we'll go through an update on the overall program, look at the schedule to just remind everybody kind of where we are in a very large project, and then request our specific task for today, which is the 30% design of our second construction package. So just a reminder of the general background for Phase 3. The goal of this expansion was determined to be increase the capacity of Broad Run to 30 MGD and also upgrade our biosolids processing technology to thermal drying to produce a higher quality biosolids from the plant. So just a little reference as to why we need to increase Broad Run's treatment capacity. Phase 1, the original construction of the plant, had Broad Run at 10 MGD. This gave us an overall processing capacity of about 23 MGD of wastewater, which where we are today. In comparison, if we look at our water treatment processing capacity, we've got 20 MGD in the Trap Rock facility with another 50 MGD of water supply from Fairfax, giving us a total of 70 MGD. So the goal with expansion of Broad Run is not only to keep up with the flows currently coming into the plant, but also to make sure that we've got enough wastewater treatment capacity to treat the water that we can generate. So we are currently under construction with Phase 2, which Rick Zafel reports out on in our CIP updates. That is scheduled to finish within the next year to bring Broad Run to a 15 MGD capacity. That increment was necessary at the time because we are nearing exceeding our capacity, but wasn't a large enough increment to really get Broad Run where it needs to be long term. So a 30 MGD expansion for Broad Run gets us to an overall capacity of about 43. It's about 2/3 of the processing capacity of water we can generate. And this is on par with wastewater that we generate right now based on water we serve. So it's a good overall capacity. In other presentations, we've also shown, we're in a good relative capacity of other utilities in our area. So just a breakdown of what the Phase 3 expansion is. We broke it into 4 construction packages. The first is just site prep, but you'll see our existing facility in white, and in shaded area is all the site we're going to prep. Broad Run is located on bedrock, so we've got soil to move, rock to work around. It'll take us about a year to move through and get everything ready for construction. So it made sense. Go ahead and get started on that. The design is in progress for that work, which we should be bidding out towards the end of 2024. What we're going to talk about today is our second construction package. So this package is encompassed in the squares shown here. We'll talk about it in more detail, but this is the most time critical portion of the overall Phase 3 work. We don't really have the time to design all of package 3 or all of the Phase 3 expansion and build it. We need to get this online as soon as we can so that we've got the capacity when we need it with current flow projections. And that's what we're going to request today to start that design. The remaining construction packages, 3 and 4, 3 focuses just on existing site enhancements. So it made sense for that to be one contractor located there on site. This is going to take Broad Run to an overall capacity of 20 MGD. And then the 4th construction package comes back over to more greenfield work and gets us to our ultimate goal of 30. And these will be packages that we tackle in the future. So our schedule laid out over generally the next 10 years is site prep underway. We get started on package 2. That will go into construction at the beginning of 2026, and we need to have that online by 2030. Our last 3 packages we broke out to be more flexible. We can continue to watch how flows develop, move forward with those as the timing makes sense. And so this large package has an overall budget of $650 million. We've talked about this in past presentations where this budget was developed as a parametric estimate. It was done in our planning stages. We said, well, 10 MGD of membranes typically cost X amount of dollars. A 30 MGD dryer facility typically costs an X amount of dollars, but we needed a detailed cost estimate. So we decided to do a basis of design report for all of this work so we can get detailed estimates. We're also utilizing third-party estimation as a way to try to keep control of these overall project costs. The project phasing will also allow us to move forward and adjust construction packages to control costs as well. And we're monitoring similar project metrics throughout the area. There's a lot of biosolids dryer facilities being constructed right now, which gives us a great metrics of what did they pay in Georgia for this type of project? Is our project in line with that? So we've got a lot of tools to take this big dollar value, but make sure we're spending it appropriately as each package comes forward. So a big job like this has a lot of contracts. So we just wanted to review the general timeline of what we're bringing before the board for consideration. So end of 2022, we ended our planning period, and that's where we came forward with the overall scope of phase 3. And we started package 1, and we started that basis of design report to get a good cost estimate. We finished the design report about midpoint this year and started working on what we're bringing forward today for design package 2. In the meantime, package 1 has advanced. We've got a 30% design in front of us, and we are on schedule to wrap that up at the end of 2024. So we're here today for our request for a 30% design scope. We'll come back, not in November for this anymore. This will be more mid-2024 with our pre-procurement for our major equipment so that we can nail down those manufacturers, get some shop drawings, and complete the design for package 2. And then we'll be back at the end of 2024 to get the rest of the design scope for package 2. So what we're here to talk about today is a 30% design scope, and I wanted to go into more detail about what we're building in just this one package. So the reason why this is so time critical is these are our solids processing facilities at Broad Run. So we will be building more BRBs and membranes in this area, and then our thermal drying facility will be a large facility at the back of the plant. Now, to support these, we've got chemical storage and addition facilities, odor control, and stormwater management. Even though this is just a small package for phase 3, this is still a very, very large capital infrastructure project in and of its own. So as a frame of reference, what we show in green right here is the new concrete that we're putting in place as part of phase 2. That was a $75 million project generally to put into place 10,000 cubic yards of concrete. Still a lot of concrete. But in reference, the new facilities will go in, we'll be pouring 40,000 cubic yards of concrete. So it's hard to convey in just a picture here, but these are very, very large structures that we're building, which is, again, why we wanted to break it into chunks and not go the whole increment to take it one piece at a time. This also helps us keep the contractor focused on what we want and specific timing and to keep the work nice and tight. So our cost estimate for the basis of design report for this package came out at $384 million. So this is still a very, very early estimate, but it was our first line item estimate of the work. So they went through, we have drawings now, and looked at all the concrete pours, all the piping. The estimate itself was 150 pages long just for this construction estimate. So because we're still early in the project, there's a lot of contingencies built in, so we give a range. The range for this package is when we go to bid day is estimated to be somewhere between 300 million and 600 million, but we'll have some control over that as we move forward using the tools that we talked about. So our current consulting engineer prepared this estimate. We did get a third-party estimate developed, and they confirmed at, there is just a lot of market volatility right now. So the contingencies in these costs are being brought forward by multiple engineers because concrete prices are still escalating. There's still a lot of market volatility, and we're still very early in the design of very, very large infrastructure. We expect the estimate to come in as a tighter and tighter range each time we come back. So this is also why we're coming forward with just a 30% design right now. So we want to do our last remaining design alternatives around our dryer facility, nailing down how we want to stage these BRBs so that we have a more firm scope before we get the bigger portions of the design contract in place. It also allows us to continue to monitor commodity pricing so that we can continue to gauge where bid prices might come in on this work. And it is important that we secure these early equipment packages now before we enter the detailed design. So if we look at the scope of what this 30% design task includes, project management always in there. Our preliminary engineering report will be done first so that we do all the alternative analysis, and then we'll provide 30% design plans and specifications. We also want to start our permitting nice and early because this will be a change to our biosolids permit. So we'll start working through that with DEQ. And so the fee for this design task is $5,945,000. So we typically look at this as a percent of the construction cost, which is again why we wanted to have an independent engineer confirm that price for us. However, usually we bring forward a full design package, so we need to break that down a little bit. So if we start with the $384 million, we typically budget for design to be 10% of that construction cost, which is about $38 million for the overall design. A 30% portion of that design, we would expect to be 20 to 25% of this overall budget. At $5.9 million, we're at 15%. So we're getting a great economy of scale because prices don't typically escalate up at the same rate when you're doing a whole bunch of concrete. So we're getting some savings there. Our planning work that we've done to date is also paying off to reduce these detailed design fees because we're not having to evaluate as much at this point. And so the cost breakdown is shown. The majority of the work is in the preparation of the plans and specifications. Again, because of the scale of this design, there will be several hundreds of drawings produced to get the work built. And so I have my motion after that. So if there are any questions about the overall phase 3 project or the scope of just this 30% design task.
Buyers.
Clearly, we need the capacity. There's no doubt that we need the capacity. It's said in the package that thermal drying creates higher quality biosolids.
Correct.
Why do we want, what does that mean, higher quality biosolids, and why do we want that?
Absolutely. So higher quality biosolids accomplishes several things if we just think about the biosolids themselves, but there's also some benefit to Loudoun Water. So the biosolids we produce right now have been thermally digested and dewatered to about 24% solids. Once we thermally dry them, we get them all the way to 98% solids. So it is a thoroughly dried product. It is pelletized, so it is now the size of a commercial fertilizer that is sold at the store. So it's very attractive to farmers. We've actually gotten further pathogen reduction through that drying process. So we've achieved a higher quality can be used as a resource in more locations than the Class B biosolids could. It also reduced the amount of money that we're going to pay in hauling costs because at 28% solids, we were hauling a lot of water. Solids hauling costs go way down, but it's actually a desirable product now, so can actually bring in a source of income depending on which source we choose to help us with the final removal of the product. The really important part of thermal drying is this is the first step that is going to be required if PFAS removal from biosolids is necessary. So you would, I know, It's driving all of our decisions these days. So, the best method right now for removing PFAS from biosolids is advanced thermal oxidation. So you have to have it dried to this level before you can consider those processes. They pair very well together. So advanced a dried pellet has a lot of stored energy in it. The thermal oxidation releases that energy. We can actually capture that and bring it back to run the dryer. So it almost becomes an energy neutral point. The problem, why we're not talking about advanced thermal oxidation, building that today, it's not ready yet. There's people out there trying it. Biosolids is an unreliable feedstock, so there are a lot of kinks to be worked out in that process. But it really looks like the way that it might go. There could be options in the industry of regionalized thermal processing facilities. Then we've already got our product dried, ready to send somewhere that might be regional, but is an overall benefit to what we're doing. We also evaluated the cost of just building more digesters and staying at a Class B biosolids versus moving to thermal drying. It was slightly higher in capital cost, but the long-term operating costs made them almost even if you look at what you're going to have to do. And then if PFAS came along, we would have built 4 more digesters and then have to put thermal drying after it because we're going to have to do that to get to the advanced oxidation. So it made a lot of operational benefits. It reduced some risks for us. We're actually really lucky that we needed the capacity and we're able to make this decision now versus already having all the solids capacity and then having to pay in addition to get to drying.
Mr. Koblis has a question.
Yeah, if you could go back one slide. So you have estimated construction at 384 and design budget of 38. Isn't there another line item of construction administration that's not shown?
Correct. That would be estimated as another 10% on that. And we don't have a scope from the consultant for that yet, since we don't have exactly what we're going to build. But if I go back to this one, I'm sorry, where was the budget? Oh, I missed it. It's all.
That's all I need to know. That's all I needed to know.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
Okay. But in this one, we have budgeted for both overall in our 650.
Kelly.
Just to follow up on Bill's question, he asked the same question. Great minds think alike. So the dryer is not a regulatory requirement. It's not a must-have. We are doing it more of a cost savings and efficiency and so forth. Would that be fair to say, or is it something down the line it's going to be required eventually?
If PFAS comes, it will be required to meet that regulatory requirement. But the way we're building it, it will be necessary to meet our biosolids permit. We could have chosen a different option to meet our biosolids permit. So it is going to be a necessary thing going down this pathway to comply with it.
And at one time, years ago, there was talk of the gas that escapes, rather than burning that off, and somehow recapture that and turn that into energy to, like up in Boston, it's completely self-contained. All the electricity is generated by the gas that are produced by their plant. Is that something that we've ever looked into, or?
Absolutely. So this is the biogas that comes from our digesters. Yes. Right. And we do take that gas and we use it right now to power our boilers, which heat the digester. The thing is, that's a very seasonal demand. When it's really hot outside, we don't need all of that gas. But now that we're going to thermal drying, which are powered by natural gas, 100% of our biogas will now be utilized to power the dryers. So we will actually have more biogas utilization with this current process. We will still need to purchase natural gas. Our biogas is not enough to supply 100% of the energy for the thermal dryers. But that is going to be the advantage of if the industry figures out advanced thermal oxidation, we will then be able to generate enough energy to power the dryers. So it's a good long-term path. We just need to give some time for the rest of the technologies to work itself out.
Thank you.
Bonfils and Mr. Moody.
Just one last question. So probably 7 or 8 years ago, Hobie Mitchell had talked about using a dryer to pelletize the biosolids. and sell them because it was an income base. Can you give us some parameters on how much income that might be different than selling 20, only 20% solid?
Well, so the difference is we pay someone to take our 28% solids. So we're in the negative. We'll be in the positive now because they'll actually pay us because they want it. I don't have a number for you, unfortunately, because in the market. However, we have done a market survey and found a lot of interest. So we'll have to get closer to actually having a product to provide, and then we will go out for public bid to see who wants to provide us the best contract price for the product.
Moody.
Yes, hi, Kendra. You mentioned something that, to the effect that we need to move forward with a major procurement of equipment package, I believe. Could you elaborate on what are some of the key components in that equipment package?
Absolutely. And so I don't know if you were on the board at the time, but we did this in the last expansion as well. So the membranes that we use for the liquid treatment process are very complex systems and very manufacturer specific. So we pre-select the manufacturer and agree to purchase their membranes, but all we pay for at this time is the shop drawing so that the engineer can design the facility around that technology. And then the actual purchase of the membranes is done by the contractor. It's just when the contractor signs their agreement with us, they're agreeing to buy the membranes for the price that we have pre-negotiated. We will also be doing that for the thermal dryer on this package. So we need to, again, pre-procure the membranes for this expansion and the thermal dryer, because we talk about it as if it's a thing. It is several things that we're getting in there. There's a dryer, there's a pelletizer, there's cake pumps, there's conveyors, but that is all supplied by one vendor so that it all works together. And again, we need the shop drawings for those. So really we're procuring shop drawings and the actual contract price will be paid through the contractor.
Okay. The other thing you'd mentioned throughout the overall process or methodology associated with this project, you'll be revisiting the estimated cost. I'm just curious though, with this, basically there's evolving technology around this. How will that be incorporated into the overall approach? I know we're going through design phases, but as you alluded to earlier, this is evolving technology with the thermal dryers. How will that be incorporated into the?
Absolutely. And we actually experienced that on this expansion as well. So when we procure the membranes or the dryer, we're doing it several years in advance, right? We're going to design for 2 years. So we give ourselves the option to upgrade to the newest version at the contractor assignment point. And we did take advantage of that. There was a newer membrane model available and we said, yes, we will pay, X amount to get the better membrane that they had created
So
at the
that's
time.
built into the contract structure.
Yes.
Perfect. Good. Thank you.
Well, I just want to, again, compliment everyone on the forward-looking aspect of this. A lesser utility would not be focused on making these changes until they were forced to. And we're not being forced to, but we're looking down the road, we see what's coming, and we're being proactive, we're showing initiative, and that's just a fantastic thing. So really grateful to everybody for doing that. And Kendra, thank you so much for the presentation, very comprehensive. Couple questions I had. When I recall Trap Rock, it's such a complex project. This is a very complex project. We had delays. I'm assuming there's going to be delays associated with this as well. It's just, there's so much complexity. I know we're looking at needing capacity at some point. But I don't have a sense for how much we need capacity when. And so if we're looking at this time frame and it ends up getting pushed out 6 months, 12 months, 18, how comfortable are we with our ability to continue to provide capacity for what we're anticipating?
Absolutely. Operationally, we think about that all the time. So we've got our goal schedule and what we need it to be. Our interconnection with DC Water, and again, a lot of the flexibility that we talk about gives us a lot of options to build in there to be able to work through schedule delays. I do think our construction team here has also put a lot of thought into how best manage this construction to try to get it on time. Based on TRAP, based on our experiences here with the phase 2 expansion, we feel like breaking these into separate projects is the best way to keep them on schedule because contractors get distracted. If you give them something that I want to get started over here. So we've We've limited the scope to try to keep them on schedule. We think we've been smart as to what scope we're giving them, that they can easily construct it all together. We're pre-preparing for them. But operationally, the DC Water is what we'll rely on the most in flows that we can send to them. In the meantime, we've learned to strategize what flows we're sending, because it's a 12-month rolling average that they monitor us on. So we pull that average down so that we can send more later on. We also just have a really great operational team that has done a lot of stress testing on our existing plant, and we've built comfort with, you know, the design criteria is this. We know we can operate it here. We know we can make it through X. So we do a lot of contingencies, backup plans, and just keep an eye on where flows are and a lot of the tools that we have to understand where growth is in specific areas and how that might affect us.
But what I'm hearing is we're comfortable with our margin of safety.
Yes, as long as we keep moving forward, right? I think that we will get there in time.
Mr. Campbell, I was going to compliment what Kendra was saying. I interpreted your question slightly differently. She covered we build in so many levers to be able to pull on to apply pressure and keep things on track, like the current contract ongoing next door. But we also have structured this contract, the slide behind you. It allows us to continually monitor our flow projections and assess. And the way we've broken this into the multiple packages is going to allow us to continue to adapt to make sure we're delivering things on time.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not, 3 years down the road. Because I don't have a sense for how close we are bumping up against our ability to treat sewage. And what I'm hearing is we have capacity at DC.
And there's
Blue Plains.
a balanced level of conservatism in the projections, but we're constantly monitoring that to make sure we're not being too conservative or the timing of any one of these packages isn't off base. And so that's really helping us.
But we have a good margin of safety there is what I'm
Yeah.
hearing. Great. And then this second package, so just so I understand the slide, where our best guess is this thing's 384 million, but that could be between 300 and 600 million when it's all said and done. So we have a big, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, it's just because we're so early in the estimate, right? Engineers put in contingency for things like we add scope over time or the continued escalation of concrete. So they're just not ready yet to say it's actually 384, but when we apply everything the way we think it is, you get the 384, and then the market volatility is where you get that really wide range.
And we see that, and yet again, that's another reason to take one more smaller step here with this 30% package and reassess many things and look for other areas where we can value engineer and continue to try to control those costs. So I feel really comfortable about the approach.
This is maybe a finance question, but also an engineer. Can we, 40,000 yards of concrete, can we do a hedge? I mean, no, you can hedge commodities. When you're buying hundreds of millions of dollars worth, there's a whole market. And I'm not the Wall Street guy, but this is done every day. And one of the big issues is what's concrete going to cost in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and no one knows. Have we ever thought of hedging? I mean, you're probably a top 10 construction project, and if you're 40,000 yards of concrete is serious. Is that something we've ever considered doing? Why am I looking at you?
No.
It's a good question, Mr. Bonfield.
I just had a question for Brian. These are big numbers, and over 10 years and bonds and all the other things. It has nothing to do with the vote that we're going to take today. But do our projections allow us to take on a construction project of $1 billion over the next 10 years?
So we've been talking about this a lot, and Kendra and her team have done a lot of work to dig into these numbers. And one of the things we're working on right now is the 10-year CIP and trying to figure out how this all fits in along with all of our other work that we're doing as well. And so we're constantly looking at the 5-year plan and seeing how this all fits in. Can we afford it? I'm confident we can. Are we going to have to borrow money at some point? I'm confident we will. So it's limiting that and making sure we're borrowing at the right time. Because we don't want to borrow money today
No,
because
no, no,
it's not cheap. So yeah. So trying to figure that out. But yes, we can accomplish this project. Yes.
Thank you very much. That was a very good answer.
Mrs. Carr.
Just, I think, hope my mic is on. Yes. So I didn't know all the questions that I wanted to ask, but they were like, after that meeting we had, Kendra, remember the CIP? So Marty was here and I said, let's call this, this particular project and your presentation into our action item. One of the reasons was because Mr. Byers was not here and he asked an excellent question. And then I knew that others would have a question to ask as well about it. So Bill, you were missed because the finance, no, don't do that. You were missed. That was an excellent question. The other questions we had were also great. I just was very inquisitive, but I didn't know like the direction to follow, but all the great questions. And I feel that we're very confident here as a board to move forward with this, that all these questions, and even Mark wasn't here, so he also asked a great question too, based on my experience on the board. Thank you so much for your presentation and just being so courageous and bringing your skills and expertise as always to combat this board and answer all these questions. So thank you, Kendra.
You're very welcome.
Great. And so final question on this. Obviously, that's a huge 300, between 600 million for just the phase two, because we got three. So, but when's the next step? When's the next time that we can expect to get a new estimate and start to go, okay, here's what reality looks more like?
So we will get cost estimates at 60% design, at 90% design, but honestly, my instinct is we're not going to be able to trust a number until we bid it, right? The market is crazy. People are reacting to the last 2 years. So I think these engineers are going to be very conservative down to the very last minute. So our strategy is bid alternates, right? We want to bring something that we can bid, see what the market will offer us, and then be able to trim or add in response to that based on a budget, somewhere in that 300,000 we think is a good area to spend. If it's 600,000, we absolutely need to take a step back and think again about what is going on. But I don't think the engineer is going to be able to tell us. I really think we have to wait and see what the market comes back with.
Yeah, it's just such a huge spread. Okay. Final question on that, unrelated, but with the permitting, I know you said DEQ, but are there any permits that we have to go through with Loudoun County from a zoning perspective?
So we're going through stormwater permitting right now with the county in terms of the site prep package. Yeah, all that is
right now. So-
yeah, all that is going on right now because it's all being triggered by the.
But we don't need to do another special exception or something like this. We've got the plant approved. We're expanding it, but part of our original approvals was to allow the future expansion of this.
Exactly, because it's all outside of the floodplain. It was the one corner of the EQ that triggered the floodplain. Other than that, we can.
Yeah, but that's fine.
We
So,
don't expect any more legislative.
yeah,
Yeah.
just site plan and all. Okay, great. Fantastic. Well, thank you. Would anybody like to read the motion? Mr. Bonfils or Mr. Moody?
Execute an amendment to the professional service contract with Hazen and Sawyer for the Broad Run Water Reclamation Facility Phase 3 Expansion Project for Design Task 2, 30% design with an estimated not to exceed cost of $5,945,000 and authorize an approximate 5% contingency to be controlled by the general manager for a total authorized budget not to exceed $6,242,000. Additional costs will require board approval.
There's a second.
Second.
Mr. Bonfils. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All right, that passes unanimously. Kendra, thanks again for going through that with us. Okay, we don't have any new business and we don't have any informational items, so we'll move to monthly reports. Finance summary from Sally.
coming up.
When do we start to get investing in these short-term treasuries? I guess you said we can't invest in anything under a year.
We're looking at the 1 year and we don't have any money right now. We have some rolling off this quarter, so we'll look to see what we can do with that. Yeah.
How much is it that we're anticipating rolling off?
Oh, probably like 10 million or so, I think. Yeah.
Okay, good. Any other questions for Sally?
No.
All right, thank you. Water Resources Management Monthly Report. Jessica. Well, let me ask you one question. I noticed we had the red. Where are we? Nope, I'm on the wrong one.
These are good. Yep.
We had the red status report on the groundwater. Do you want to touch on that?
Oh, that is the Virginia Drought Monitoring Task Force, that box, right? So that is their wells that they're looking at. And there's a combination of them. And if they're low, then they'll give it a red status. We've seen that before in this status map.
Mhm. And I know we have wells that we own, but we're not having any emergency situations with the wells that we're operating.
No, we're not.
Okay, great. And I see that the Potomac is now in the green.
Yes.
Right.
Let's hope it stays that way.
Yes. Okay, good. All right. Thank you. And final, any questions for we on the water and sewer agreements? Right. Well, we're going to enter into a closed session. So I will read that motion. Pursuant to section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia, I move that the board of this authority enter into a closed meeting for the purpose of discussing pending litigation. The authority for this closed meeting is found in section 2.2-3711A7 and A8. In accordance with section 2.2-3712F, Chris Pomeroy, president of Aqua Law, will attend the closed session to aid the board in its consideration of the subject of the meeting. The items to be discussed are consultation with legal counsel retained by a public body pertaining to actual or probable litigation requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. We got to do a voice vote on this to enter in, only when we come out. I need a second. I'll second. Mr. Moody. All those in favor? Aye. You guys online?
And Mr. Campbell, what the online attendees need to do is leave this meeting, go to your calendar and join the closed meeting online meeting, and we'll meet you in there. Thank you.
Provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. When do we vote on this? After I read it? Whereas 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Loudoun County Sanitation Authority that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Loudoun County Sanitation Authority hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements by Virginia law, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered. And we have to do a voice vote on this. Mr. Kelly.
Yeah.
Mr. Byers.
Aye.
Bonfils, Mr. Moody,
Aye.
Ms. Sissicar, Mr. Koblis,
Aye.
Mr. Allen. Boo.
Well,
All right.
can Nathan make sure he's not in the active meeting? Yeah, but he could have came out.
I vote aye. We just won't give him a good grade. Okay, I think that's it then.
Good, Jared. Yeah. So move.
Motion
Second.
adjourned, second. I don't think we have to do an all, I don't think. Do we? Do
Any
we?
objections?
I get different meetings, they do a different. That's true. All right, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Hey.